A devastating fire has destroyed the beachfront home of South Carolina Circuit Court Judge Diane Goodstein. The blaze broke out Saturday morning on Edisto Beach, sending 3 family members to the hospital, including her husband, former state senator Arnold Goodstein. Officials say the $1.1 million 3-story home was engulfed in flames around 11:30 a.m., with investigators now probing the cause. According to South Carolina Chief Justice John Kittredge, the fire may have stemmed from an apparent explosion. Arnold Goodstein reportedly helped others escape before leaping from the burning structure himself, suffering multiple broken bones in his hips, legs, and feet. The investigation into what sparked the fire is ongoing.
Is underway after the home of a South Carolina judge went up in flames over the weekend. Take a look. It happened in Edisto Beach, about an hour south of Charleston. The home is owned by Judge Diane Goodstein, who serves as the state circuit court. Officials say 3 people were injured in the fire, including Goodstein's husband, former Democratic State Senator Arnold Goodstein. Judge Goodstein made news last month after issuing a ruling blocking South Carolina from handing over millions of voters' personal data to the Department of Justice.
Cupid doesn't lie, but you wanna unless you give it a try, give it a try. But you wanna unless you give it a try. Hey, girl, if I tell you I need you, that doesn't mean that I don't care.
What a...
And if I tell
Oh
you
God, it's still going. Okay. Yeah.
don't you think that I will never be there here? Cupid.
Is that a real song? Is that a Drake song?
One of my favorite songs of all time.
Your songs?
Nope.
Who sings them?
112.
Let's let them sing it.
I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit.
Hello there, villagers. Welcome back to another video here in Stacy's Random POV. And as you guys can see from my first clip, today we are talking about Judge Diane Goodstein, whose house was coincidentally caught on fire for reasons that is unknown, and said fire is currently under investigation. Now, before I jump into this, just remember everything I'm saying is absolutely my opinion and my opinion alone. This is not incite the public or to create any further division in this climate that we live in. And I would also appreciate if you guys turn on that post notification on and like this video. Once you like this video, it helps me reach other people who like to have this type of conversations. And always subscribe. Once you subscribe, you automatically become a member of this village. You love this village. You appreciate this village because, baby, it takes a village. Alrighty, guys. So as mentioned, Circuit Judge Diane Goodstein's home that's located in Edisto Island in Colton County, South Carolina. And let me just add, I drove through that area before and it is beautiful. The houses took my breath away. But her home caught on fire, causing her husband, their son, and one more occupant to jump out of windows, and even rescuers had to get kayaks to get people rescued. I'm not sure if that was her husband or her son who needed rescuing through kayak because of uncertain terrains. Right now, the fire is being investigated, but let me just add, this judge was a Democratic judge who had banned and had a restraining order against the Trump administration to get access to voters' data, which is a very dangerous thing for a president to ask for, or their administration altogether. And honestly, it reminds me of other lawmakers that were attacked in Minnesota. I don't know if you guys remember that. I made a quick video about it, so please check it out. I'll have the link on the description below, so keep an eye out for that. And so I just find it very funny how this presidency, this administration is always talking about extremist leftists, about political violence and this, that, and the third, when in reality there is a plethora of proof proving that these acts of violence are being done by far right activists and other groups within the Republican conservative branch who operate under and behind law enforcement. And sometimes they're even being backed up by other law enforcement. But again, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. So this is just a conversation that we're having. Please don't try to report me. But just to give you a few examples, the action behind what happened to Charlie Kirk was done by a far right activist who believed that Charlie Kirk was too passive. The situation that happened in Minnesota was done by somebody that was behind Donald Trump, voted for Trump, even though a Democrat gave him a job and gave him a chance. He still felt the way he felt. The gentleman who absolutely did atrocious and terrible things on that church, that went and shoot out that church, was also part of the Nazi. That was his indoctrination to join the American Nazi place. It's just a lot and a lot of other cases that I can go through, but I'm not gonna, because it's just gonna take up the entire video. The Republicans now run the House, run the courts, and somehow they are still extremely unhappy. A poll came out about the month of September about all of the murders and all of the stuff that happened, and a lot of them happened because of the right wing conservatives that are out here that are also part of different branches within that party. And it's just so sad that they are going literally unhinged and then hiding behind religious beliefs and religious groups that are actually archaic and should not be practiced today, especially if we want this country to evolve. But I'm done with my rant. Let me know what you guys think in the comment down below. As always, I'm going to bring you guys opinions and thoughts of other creators from online. And I can't wait to see what this is going to lead to. I am so glad that no one lost their lives in this judge's home. It is unfortunate what happened to her. And I pray that everyone is safe and that she is okay. Her husband is okay. I know they are completely traumatized. The house is completely incinerated. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let's start this discussion. If you've gotten this far, please hit that like. Subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, that's completely fine. I hope I see you on my next video. But once you subscribe, you automatically become a member of this village. You love this village. You appreciate this village because, baby, it takes a village. I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about. I'll see you guys on my next video. Later.
So a South Carolina judge who recently ruled against the Frumpy Dump administration and has been subjected to threats and harassment since then, her mansion on a beach in South Carolina burned to the ground yesterday. Let's talk about it. So apparently Judge Goodstein was on the beach when the fire erupted. However, her husband, Arnold Goodstein, who just happens to be a former Democrat South Carolina state senator, was in the home along with their 2 children. According to reporting, the fire erupted midday yesterday. Now, South Carolina's Law Enforcement Division, aka SLED, that's South Carolina's version of the FBI, is investigating this. And according to them, Judge Peterson was on the beach walking her dogs at the time of the fire. Now her husband and the children were inside of the home. They found the husband on the back of the house in a marshy area. They had to use a canoe and a rope to pull him from the tricky terrain. Now 3 people were hospitalized with injuries, one of whom had to be air evacuated to the Medical University of South Carolina. Now, Judge Goodstein recently made headlines. Just last month, she was involved in a controversial case in determining if voter personal information in South Carolina could be turned over to Frumpy Dump's DOJ. She issued a temporary restraining order in early September, stemming from a lawsuit challenging whether the South Carolina Election Commission could give voter data to the Department of Justice. Now, her ruling was later overturned after a 6-page opinion from the Supreme Court took issue with her process in barring the state from complying. She was criticized by the Supreme Court, signed by all 5 justices, for failing to detail what kind of damage would be caused in the release of the personal information of voters. And since that ruling, Judge Goodstein has received harassment and threats, just like a lot of judges have been experiencing these days. It's also very important to note that Frumpy Dump and his Cracker Jack Box administration has been attacking Democrats and what they have deemed as radical left judges. And just yesterday, Frumpy Dump's Chief of Staff Stephen Miller posted this on Twitter. All right, players, so we'll wait to see what comes out in the Washington arrangement of this investigation. What do you all think, players? Put your thoughts in the comments. This is Double D Mo for the Black Here.
Here's everything that happened while you were asleep. Judge Diane Goodstein's home was burnt to the ground after ruling against Trump. Her family inside of the home had to escape the massive blaze by jumping out of the windows. The cause of the fire is unclear at this time. A judge blocked California National Guardsmen and their deployment to Oregon. France's prime minister resigns. The government is still shut down. On Tuesday, Jacksonville community members plan to rally to demand an end to the attack on teachers' free speech rights after a teacher and community pillar was removed from her classroom after sharing her personal thoughts on her personal Facebook. The rally will be held at the school board at 5 p.m. Van Jones, political commentator that do anything for a check, apologizes for horrific comments made about children dying in Gaza. His apology has not been accepted. The October Supreme Court term is underway with big decisions on Trump's executive power, the Voting Rights Act, conversion therapy, and more. And that's everything that happened while you were.
This weekend, a South Carolina judge's house exploded while her family was inside. Last month, she blocked Trump's regime from getting the state's full voting records. Her name is Diane Goodstein. Just a few weeks ago, she blocked the Trump regime from getting the state's full voting records, saying that it would violate everyone's privacy. Obviously, the decision upset the Trump regime. It drew veiled threats online, and her address was even leaked. And now her home is gone from an explosion while her family was inside. She happened to be walking her dogs down the beach. Her family had to jump out of the windows to escape the fire into the marsh behind their home. Her entire home destroyed, her family hospitalized. You cannot tell me that this isn't an escalation. This is the America the Trump regime promised you would be great. Judges who follow the law are under attack. Families are having their doors kicked in the middle of the night, separated from their children, dragged out, and zip-tied in the middle of the street. Military is being sent on U.S. citizens. We're being told there's no money to help us, while we send billions of dollars to Argentina, and we continue to send billions of dollars to Israel. This is Trump's America.
This is Judge Diane Goodstein, and last month, Judge Goodstein ruled against the Trump administration and blocked South Carolina from giving millions of voter data files to the DOJ. Yesterday, Stephen Miller tweeted that all left-wing judges are terrorists and enemies of the state. Today, her house burned down. After receiving criticism from Stephen Miller, she received death threats, and then her house mysteriously exploded. Is this a coincidence? Spontaneous combustion of a judge's house mere days after criticism that we've seen so often from this administration and their fucking lackeys? Maybe. Is that likely? No. You should pause to read this if you need to refamiliarize yourself with this word and its intention and what it does. You know? You got a nice store here. Would be a shame if something happened to it.
Late Tuesday, Circuit Court Judge Diane Goldstein refused to hand over the data of 3.3 million voters. And her house just exploded and caught fire. That's right. On Tuesday, just on Tuesday, she just ruled against the administration, resulting in a huge loss for them. That lawsuit is a huge loss for them. And now her home has burned to the ground with her family in it. Her husband, children, grandchildren, and pets were inside the house, had to jump from a window onto a balcony to escape the house. I'd also like to note here that after the ruling, after she ruled against the administration, Stephen Miller took to the internet, tweeted about her, and her address was circling all over the internet. Yeah, that's the same judge. Reportedly, she was walking her dog on the beach when this happened, but 3 people have been hospitalized, her husband being one of them.
Judge Diane Goldstein's home was burned down after she ruled against Trump. The Department of Justice asked for the voting records of that location, and she said, no, I'm not going to approve this. Her home is burned down. They said that they don't know the cause of the fire. However, Stephen Miller is freaking out as of 32 minutes ago because he's like, why is MAGA being blamed for this? A circuit court judge home was burned down with her family inside of it. And while she says her and her family are okay, her home was burned down with her family inside of it after she ruled against the Trump administration. It's not fake news. Everyone has been reporting on it. I'm putting up all the articles. It's not fake news. This is really what is happening. I'm just confused. I thought we said no more political violence. What's going on? What is really going on? I'm really confused as to what's going on because this is for sure political violence.
So let me get this straight. The same judge whose $1 million home just got burned down is the same judge that blocked the DOJ from getting the South Carolina's voters' data. You're probably thinking, okay, well, why did she block it in the first place? He did it because releasing such sensitive personal information will violate state law and her constituents' rights. This was a temporary restraining order, which means you can have it, but we have to make sure that the constituents' rights are not violated. However, that wasn't good enough, because Stephen Miller, with his tweeting fingers, he tweeted that there is a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country. It's well organized and funded. It is shielded by far-left Democrat judges, prosecutors, and attorney generals. The only remedy is to use legitimate state power to dismantle terrorism and terror networks. Now, when you read something like that, you see something like this happens, are we connecting the dots? Are we seeing that the judge was caring for her constituents? Stephen Miller's a batshit crazy person? But no, tell me again how the far left are the radicals.
Over the weekend, a South Carolina judge's house burned to the ground. Her husband and son were both sent to the hospital, and state law enforcement says it's being investigated as potential arson. The judge's name is Diane Goodstein, and if that rings a bell, it's because she just ruled against the Trump regime. And in the weeks that followed her ruling, she started getting death threats. Verified death threats. Not just rumors or social media memes. Actual documented threats, verified by her family members. And that raises the question, why was she getting these threats in the first place? What about her ruling made someone decide she deserves to be terrified? Well, it might have something to do with Stephen Miller going online and attacking judges who rule against the Trump regime. Because right after he posted about left-wing terrorism and far-left Democrat judges supposedly protecting it, that's when reports say her death threats suddenly spiked. So when her house burned and her family barely made it out alive, Representative Dan Goldman called it out for exactly what it looked like. He said, Trump, Stephen Miller, and MAGA World have been doxing and threatening judges who rule against Trump, including Judge Goodstein. Today, someone committed arson on the judge's home. Will Trump speak out against the extreme right that did this? And Miller's response? He called Goldman deeply warped and vile, said the criticism was libelous madness, and claimed he was focused on public safety and fighting domestic terror. Which is hilarious, because you don't get to pour gasoline on the movement for months and then brag about being seen holding the fire extinguisher that one time. Sure, maybe investigators haven't confirmed arson yet, but the smoke around this one doesn't smell like coincidence. It smells like the same fury Stephen Miller's been bottling up and selling, and this time, somebody opened it near a match.
Hey guys, so a South Carolina judge's house has exploded and it injured her husband, had to be airlifted to the hospital. And so this comes after she blocked the Trump administration from getting access to voter ID information, which includes like their social security number, their address, their name, their date of birth, all of those identifying things, right? And so why are they asking for that? Ask yourself that. Why do you think that would be? Why would they need all that information? So that they can prevent people from voting a way that they don't want them to. So then her house explodes because she rules against him? I don't know if that's why, but that's the question people ought to be asking, and that's the question she's asking.
It's Sunday night, and you're really not going to believe this one. At the end of August, Trump's Department of Justice was trying to get South Carolina's voter data. The data they were seeking would have included South Carolina's voter registration list, including sensitive information like the last 4 digits of people's social security numbers or their full driver's license numbers. A group of people from South Carolina sued the Trump administration, alleging that this would infringe upon their privacy. And Judge Diane Goodstein issued a temporary restraining order to halt the process of South Carolina handing over voter data to the federal government, saying that she thinks there is a likelihood that immediate and irreparable damage could come to people if their personal information was released. Judge Goodstein is considered a liberal judge, and she is married to a longtime Democratic politician. The Trump administration was obviously very mad about this, so he called up his friend, the Republican governor of South Carolina, and the Republican governor went to a Republican judge he appointed, and that guy ended up reversing the decision. So as of 4 days ago, the Department of Justice is able to access South Carolina voter data. And then yesterday, Judge Goodstein's house exploded. It's being investigated for foul play. Her house exploded into fire. She was not home at the time. She was out walking her dogs, but 3 other members of her family were home, including her husband, who had to jump out of a window to escape the flames. He is being treated in the hospital right now, and the house burned completely to the ground. That's pretty weird, right?
Y'all, my timeline is getting a little bit too local, because what do you mean South Carolina? Okay, a judge home in South Carolina just mysteriously went up in flames. Listen, the judge by the name of Diane Goodstein, okay? Keep in mind, not too long ago, that she ruled against the man with the ankles, okay? Now, the judge wasn't home at the time, but her husband and a couple of family members was, and the house just just went up, and they had to jump out the window, and the husband is currently in the hospital along with some family members. I'm sure they're going to live. Keep in mind, like I said, this is the same judge who temporarily blocked the man with the ankles in his administration for accessing, South Carolina voting records, right? I'm not the one that like to make everything into a conspiracy theory, all right? But 2 + 2 = 4. This can't be no coincidence, okay? Keep in mind, it's the same judge who ruled against, ankles, and now all of a sudden her house just. Now, I'm not saying it's related, but I am saying, 1 + 1 = 2.
A South Carolina judge's home, Judge Diane Goodstein, was burned to the ground. 3 people were hurt, including her husband, former state senator Arnold Goodstein, who jumped from a window to survive. He broke several bones in his legs and hips. 1 other family member and a friend were also injured. All 3 were hospitalized at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston, 1 airlifted, 2 transported by ambulance. So Judge Goodstein herself wasn't home at the time. She was out walking her dogs, but her home exploded and burned to ash before fire crews could even contain it. And investigators are calling it suspicious, possibly arson. And before anyone pretends this is isolated, let's please remember America's history. Every time certain people didn't get their way, Reconstruction, Tulsa, Rosewood, the civil rights area, entire communities were torched to make a point. Fire had always been their message. So now a judge upholds the law, refuses to bow to political pressure, and suddenly her home explodes? We've seen this before. This isn't protest. It's punishment, and it's absolutely unacceptable. When intimidation becomes a political weapon, justice itself is under siege. Once fear takes the bench, the rule of law doesn't stand a chance.